Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Hirsch. I'm here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, with the Eclipse Foundation today. We are running webinars for the promotion of Eclipse Neon, the release which comes out on June 22nd. Today's session will be about the Eclipse User Storage Service and creating a better user experience for developers. So I'm joined today by Chris, who is a lead developer at the Eclipse Foundation, and Antoine, who's our product manager also at the Eclipse Foundation. So we will be allocating some time to questions. If there are any at the end of the session, we will have about 5 minutes. Otherwise, you can send us questions on Twitter at #EclipseNeon. You can comment on our YouTube video, or you can send them directly to the Google Hangout, and we'll try to respond as quickly as possible. So without further ado, over to Antoine and Chris.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm pretty excited to be here today to talk about the Eclipse USS. The Eclipse USS is now included with Neon. I'm with Antoine today. And can you guys just confirm that you can see my slides?
Yes, we see.
Okay, perfect. So today we'll be discussing a little bit about creating a better user experience for developers, and I think this is the goal of the Eclipse User Storage Service. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Christopher Guindon. I'm the lead web developer at the Eclipse Foundation. I've been working for the foundation for close to 5 years now. I'm responsible for maintaining most of our web properties. This includes websites like Marketplace, Eclipse Marketplace, all of our conference website, obviously the API.eclipse.org service, which we'll be discussing today, and a new project that I'm currently working on, or starting to work on with Antoine, is the user dashboard. But I'll let Antoine talk about the user dashboard a little bit more. But basically, it'll be a central location for our users to access data and update user data information across all of our web properties. I think the thing we're trying to solve here is that right now you can update your information on multiple websites, for example, the portal, the site login, the EclipseCon website. So we're trying to centralize user data in one location, and it'll take advantage of the Eclipse USS user storage. So today I'll be discussing the presentation. The way it's going to work, I'll start by giving you guys a bit of context of what the Eclipse USS is. Afterward, I'll talk about like the history of how this project got started, and like and the problems our project were having and our users were having, and the things that the goals that we're trying to achieve with this project. I'll also go through and discuss a bit how the whole service work. I'll go into a bit of technical detail. I'll explain a bit how we've implemented this server regarding how the Eclipse Foundation is maintaining it. I'll do a quick run through about the Eclipse USS SDK. I think this is something that projects will be interested in using to make requests to our service. We'll discuss how a project can get started, and then Antoine is going to take over the webinar and start showing up some cool example that projects have built using the Eclipse User Storage. I think he's going to go through the user preference synchronization and marketplace favorites using MPC. And I believe he'll also discuss and show some prototypes of the new user dashboard website. And I think we'll close this webinar with to give everybody a good idea of our future plan with this project, and we'll also hopefully have time to answer any questions at the end. So what is the Eclipse User Storage? The Eclipse User Storage Service (USS), and I think from now on I'll just call it USS from now on. But basically USS stands for Eclipse User Storage Service, and it's basically a standardized way for project to store data on our server. We've built a RESTful web service with API.eclipse.org that allow users or clients to do like the default actions with a RESTful web service, which is gets, put, delete, and post data to our cloud. Obviously, RESTful web services works best for the web. They make it possible for external application in this scenario, the Eclipse IDE, to interact with our application, which is our server, basically API.eclipse.org. And as I mentioned, the most common CRUD operation are reading, creating, and updating and deleting resources. And resources in this case are blobs. So just a bit of history. The Eclipse User Storage Service started basically. Just a second, now I have a problem here. Basically, the USS project came to be because the need of a single project. The own project needed a way to store an XML on our server, and the XML was to sync user preferences of the Eclipse IDE. And the early design idea was to store a physical file on our server. But then when you store a file on a server, you need to deal with authentication, session management, and hopefully you're taking in consideration security. And after a few meetings and after a few discussion with everybody involved, the Eclipse Foundation and the people involved with the UMF project, we decided, like, we came to the conclusion that we didn't want to create a service where we were limiting ourselves to one type of data, one type of document, and in this case was XML. So, but we could see other projects in the future wanting to use JSON or storing maybe a picture on our server. So this is where basically we decided to create a web service on API.eclipse.org to store any type of data. And basically you can look at it as a big hard drive. Some say, I think Denis was the first to mention that, like we're becoming basically a cloud service where you have an account with us, and then you store Eclipse related information on our server. So the problem we were trying to solve is that basically, I guess the biggest problem is that if your laptop gets stolen or your hard drive fails, and hard drives do fail, I'm a good example of that today. Just before this webinar, my laptop crashed 3 times. I had to switch last minute to another computer just so I could do this webinar, and so far my laptop hasn't crashed. So, but yeah, so your laptop can die or crash or get stolen, and then you would lose all your workspace information. And anybody that's using Eclipse or has been involved with Eclipse knows that it does take a lot of time to set up your workspace properly. Everybody, each project has different coding standards, or some people prefer using spaces to tab. So just setting your workspace perfectly for each of your project is very time consuming. And also workspace are, obviously they sometimes need to be installed by professional. So So the goal for this project is to make it easier for project to store stuff on our server and across multiple computers or workspace. But what is really important to note with this is that the information stored in Eclipse USS is public, or you need to consider that somebody else might have access to it, that it's other than the user that is storing the data. So the Eclipse USS is not appropriate for storing username and password. Definitely do not store private SSH keys in the Eclipse USS, and also do not store credit card information or any private data about the user, because eventually we have planned with the user dashboard to allow other users to view a profile or view a profile page of a user and download or review, information that they've been storing on the Eclipse USS. But things that the Eclipse USS is appropriate for is, UI preferences. Oomph is a perfect example for that, with the synchronization of preferences, public repo URIs, favorite and recently used things in the workspace could be a good example. So how does this work? So as I mentioned earlier, we've built a RESTful web service on api.eclipse.org, and this RESTful web service is built on top of Drupal and the services module. The services module is a standardized solution for building APIs, so that external clients can communicate with Drupal. And for this example, is api.eclipse.org. The data is stored in a master-slave database architecture with MariaDB. We do have plans of probably switching the storage, perhaps with MongoDB. But so far, we've been achieving the performance goals that we initially had. So far, MariaDB is working really well for us. But other technologies are not outside of the possible scope of this project. And one of the key characteristics of a RESTful web service is the explicit use of HTTP method in a way that follows the protocol defined by RFC 2616, the hypertext transfer protocol. And we made sure, I made sure before even starting on this project, I took the time to read this RFC and really understand it, because we are using, the standard way of transferring data over the internet, basically, and we are using you're using HTTP requests to post data, create or an update, read data, make queries, delete data. So thus, the REST API use HTTP for all four CRUD operations. And we're trying to take advantage of the HTTP protocol as much as we can to build a performant and scalable service. So for example, we use the request header if not match. And the meaning of if not match in a request header is that the method, for example, the get must not be, or the post must not be performed. Well, it wouldn't be a post, but a put. No, sorry. It would be a put, because it would already exist. Must not be performed if the repository selected on the server already exists, and should be performed if the repository does not exist. And on our side, on the server side, we use the e tag as a response header. And that's the corresponding header for our requests for if not match or if match. You can, I mean, depending on what kind of request you're making. But basically, you would use the E tag to identify the resource, and then the server could, depending if you pass if not match or if match, with the ID, the E tag of the resource. Then for example, if you're doing a get with if match, then if it hasn't changed, we're not returning a body, and then we're relying on HTTP status code to let the client know that okay, I believe my memory could be mistaking me, but I believe it's 304 not modified, or status code 200 OK, which means like, okay, this is the new version of the data. So yeah, basically it just avoids us to return a 16 megabyte base64 string of data for each GET request. You know, that takes a lot of bandwidth, and we obviously don't want to do that, you know, 2 million times a day. So the data is stored, as I said earlier, the data is stored in MariaDB database, and we basically storing a huge chunk of this data in a medium blob field. And a medium blob field can store up to 16 megabyte of data. So yes, this is important for project to know that you are limited to 16 megabyte, but it's only 16 megabyte per chunk of data that you're storing. So a project could actually break this chunk of data in multiple, I guess, ILOs, and store four chunks of 16 megabyte if they actually need to store a larger a file larger than 60 megabyte. But the project would be responsible of, you know, getting the 4 chunks and then putting them back together. So the data is always encoded in base64 by the client. It's also verified by the server. So if you try to upload something else that it's not, you know, a base64 valid string, the server will return an error, and you won't be able to to upload your data. But this allows us to give project the opportunity to store any type of document on our server. They're not limited to XML, like I said earlier. They're not limited to JSON. They can store, like, if you want, you can store a beautiful picture of yourself or your cat on our server, and that would be totally fine. So basically, what's important to take off of this is that we're trying to use the right components for the job, right? We're using Drupal open source. We're using MariaDB. We're using the HTTP protocol for optimize, and the HTTP protocol is already optimized for caching and for performance. As long as you use it correctly, it's easy to be lazy and just kind of not use these request headers, these caching headers like etag, if not match, in a request. But we try with the Eclipse USS SDK, we try to use that as much as possible, just because we know that you know, we will eventually get hundreds of thousands of requests a day, maybe more. So we need to be as efficient as we can. Obviously, we know that, you know, encoding something in base64 might not be the most efficient and file size way to transfer the data, but we do have some ideas how to improve on that, and down the line we are going to improve on that. And I guess the primary goal, because when we first got started with this project, the primary goal was to get correctness. What was really important for us, that the bytes that the client sends to our server are the same bytes that our server returns to the clients. And I mean, if we can send emails in base64, then it should be good enough for USS. So I think this is my final slide. The Eclipse USS SDK. I'm just gonna go and kind of just give everybody a general idea of what this is, just because I'm a web developer. I don't do Java that much. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I just want to let everybody know that basically the project, where this project got started with, got tasked by the foundation to create the USS SDK, which is basically an API that you can use in Eclipse for project that you can use to make requests or API. Like what we wanted to avoid is that every project had to build their own implementation of doing the same GET, doing the same post, put, update, or delete on our server, right? This is a very basic REST API, and we wanted one project to kind of figure all the problems and iron all the problems and iron out all the bugs, and then have one right way of making requests to our API. And this also make sure that they are setting the right headers for caching. It also right now we're using session authentication, so the Eclipse USS SDK does handle session management. It'll if the session is expired or the user is no longer logged in, the Eclipse USS SDK is responsible for prompting a login screen to the user. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I believe. I think we're gonna. I guess, Antoine, do you want me to explain a bit how project can get started, or should we talk about this after you do your demo?
I think you can just I will give the link to the wiki at the end, and people will have the link to the Java SDK actually hosted in the OOMF project. So yes, let's go. Let's continue, and then if people have technical questions, we will see at the end.
Okay, well, just go really quickly how to get started.
Yes, please.
Okay. I think the easiest way to get started with the Eclipse USS SDK is to download Eclipse Neon, enable the preference synchronizer. But Antoine will show a demo about that really soon. You need to apply for an application token via Bugzilla. You could also send an email to Webmaster, but I really prefer using Bugzilla for all kind of requests. And the application token is basically just a namespace separation tool. It just identifies this project. It's basically just a random string that I give you, and we didn't want to use the project name as the application token, just because sometimes project can change their name, and we didn't want to have to update that in Eclipse USS SDK on the server side. So it's definitely not a method for security. You really need to familiarize yourself with the USS SDK. I think I built a 20-something line of code example that you can study and understand the basic of how to make a request to our server. And also, once you have an application, you can also make a request to have a fake account on our staging server to avoid having hard-coded credentials. Your hard-coded credentials in your tests and your for example in the Hudson. So yeah, that's pretty much it with my presentation. I think I'll let Antoine show off a bit of the cool stuff that our project have been doing with this service now.
So we'll be switching screens over to Antoine.
Whoa.
This was a sort of a extra effect that we wanted to add for diversity in the presentation.
And
all right.
Sharing my screen.
Perfect.
Wow. Why is that? Ah, yes, because I
switch.
Yes, I need to switch. Okay, so basically, so I will just present myself. So I'm Antoine Thomas. I started 1 month and a half ago as a project manager at the Eclipse Foundation. So my job is not to work on the Eclipse IDE, but is to work with the IT team, with Chris and others, to develop new services and new ideas and new products on eclipse.org. So my job is to try to make it easy for developers to work with all the websites we have. So for example, at the moment you have stuff on Bugzilla, you can update your stuff on Marketplace, you can download someplace, but there is no central place where you can just set up everything about what you do on eclipse.org, and so this is one of my job. But before speaking about eclipse.org, I would just like to make a short demo of the 2 new features in Eclipse Neon that will use the user storage service. So the first one is what we call the MPC. It's a marketplace client. So to use it, by the way, let's start with that. You just go in the help menu and launch the Eclipse Marketplace. So at first, it will just connect to the Marketplace API, and you can browse the project, the packages, the plugin. So with the plugins, the way you're supposed to do in the Marketplace website. So I think it's taking some time because I'm doing the webinar at the same time. So you can see that actually it's only featured. You can have the popular, you can show the ones that are installed, and you can load your favorites. So the first time you go on this favorite tab, you will have to set your eclipse.org account. So I don't show you that because I already done it, but it's really obvious how to do it. And so you can see that I have some plugins here. You can see that they are installed, and that, for example, if I go back to the website and I want to go, where is it, favorites. So here are my favorites on the marketplace, the website on eclipse.org. So you have the same. And if, for example, I want to add a new one, I can, for example, search Python. Yes, the connection is a bit slow. I can add it to my favorite just clicking on the web. And if I go back in Eclipse and just reload my favorites, you will see that Python is now in the list. So I can just click on install actually, and I will be able to see everything. So what is interesting is that, of course, you can share your favorites URL. If you go back to my marketplace, for example, you can see your favorites and you can share your URL with your team. For example, you are a team leader or you have a new colleague coming in your team, and you would want to install Eclipse and use a bundle of plugins, so the guy can set the development environment. So you can just share that with him, her, and it will be easy to install. So yes, so of course, if I do the same in Eclipse, I add a plugin in my favorites, I will be able to see that also on the website. The second stuff I would like to show in the marketplace is not a feature using the user storage service, the USS. It's just the file, the extension discovery system. So it's just that, for example, if you click on a file that Eclipse don't know, you can ask the marketplace to show you the extensions that are able to load and work on this kind of file. So of course, again, you can put it in your favorites or install. And also, if you go here, you will see that to add, if you are a plugin developer and want to add the file discovery to your plugin via the marketplace, you just have to edit here. You log and you edit, and you add a tag with file extension and the extension actually. And if you do that, when Eclipse don't know a file and sees the extension via the marketplace, it will be able to propose something to load. So that's all for the marketplace client. I would like now to show you the OOMF preference recorder. So basically, the only thing you have to do to enable it is just to click on the OOMF preference recorder. So by default, it's gray. So if it's gray, it's not enabled, and so you click on it, it becomes red, and you're done. The first time you load it, it will ask you your eclipse.org account, and of course you can afterward force a synchronization here, and you can set up your information, etc., etc. So what is interesting with this one is that if I go to in general, for example, editors, and I can enable the autosave. So I do an apply, I do OK. So the first time you save a new preference, it asks you if you want to store it locally, and if you want to store it on eclipse.org. So it's just that because in some company or on some project, you might not want to share some preferences, but you might want to just have it, for example, between different Eclipse installation locally, or you don't want at all to store that locally and want to share that between your different laptops. So you can synchronize your preferences using perform setup tasks, or again in preferences. If you go in the OOMF preferences here, OOMF preference synchronizer, synchronize now, and you're done. So this is very useful if you have many Eclipse on your laptop, or you have one laptop, one workstation, etc. I think that in the second implementation it will be possible to share the preference, but at the moment it's only for you. So what to say? Next stuff. So I did the 2 demo I was supposed to do. The last stuff I would like to show you is the draft. So it's just a project of what we will do on eclipse.org. So the definitive name of this dashboard, it's not. We are not sure how to use it because we already have a project called dashboard in Eclipse. You will have so a general view of everything you might want to participate, so bugs, forum topics, if you are using GitHub or Git for your projects, wiki page you might have participate, the next event in your area, or perhaps we can imagine also to have a list of past events you attended, that kind of stuff. I think we will add the avatar over there and your name and some basic information. You will be able to load all the projects you are participating. Sorry for that. And also we will provide a view so you can see what is stored in the USS, in your personal USS account. And so, of course, you can just share, delete, and so on, so manage your data. This is very important, specifically for European users. And of course, a general account, so in one place you will be able to update your information, sign the CLA, and manage notifications. So it's coming. We are working on it, Chris and I. So we should have something before the end of the year, hopefully. And so that's all for me. So Chris or Kat.
Yep. So I don't see any questions in the queue right at this very moment. If there are any questions, please submit them now. Alternatively, we can respond if you send them by email to marketing@eclipse.org, if you comment on the YouTube video, which will be posted momentarily, and you can interact with us on Twitter as well. We'll be sure that the questions get to Antoine and Chris. So we'll leave another minute or so. Was there anything else that either of you wanted to say before we close out? No? Okay. And just as a reminder to everyone, we have 4 more webinar sessions leading up to and after the Neon webinar, or the Neon release. The release is on June 22nd. We have a session every day this week covering different topics, features, highlights, things relevant to Eclipse Neon and how that'll affect users moving forward. So please do register for those. And like I said, if you have questions, feel free to send them to us. All right, I think that's it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Antoine. Thank you, Chris.